It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. For the first time in several weeks, the Wednesday Night Crew is back together for your Wrestling Inc. podcast. Hello, everybody. I am Justin LaBar, coming from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, north of the border in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He is referee extraordinaire, soon to be Hall of Famer one day, I forecast. He is the wonderful Jimmy Korderas, and down south in beautiful Puerto Rico, she is our one and only Issa, the Demon Diva. Boys and girls, how are we doing tonight? Issa, ladies first.
I missed you, Justin. Please never go on vacation ever again. I don't want to deal with Jack Farmer.
Oh, he's a treat.
Or at least next time, let me know. We'll coordinate, and I'll take the same week off, and they can.
There we go.
They'll have Glenn and Jack, and then poor Jimmy.
There we go. Maybe Jimmy will just come with us.
Yeah.
Hey, oh, that would be cool.
Organized vacation. Jimmy Korderas, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well, and glad to have Issa back, and looking forward to our chat. Let's put it that way.
Chat we will do on this episode about this episode of Dynamite, rather, that took place tonight from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Say that 5 times fast.
Bless you.
Exactly.
Jimmy should be the right person to pronounce these Canada names here.
Yeah. Well, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan is.
Look at that. There's no way I can say that. Yeah. No way.
Well, when you see, but you have to say it whenever you announce even a wrestler from
right.
A Canadian wrestler from the. It's not only the city and province. We don't have states up here, of course, but it's city, province, and country. You have to like. Bret Hart was always from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Like
Canada, right?
Yeah.
So, what are people from Saskatoon? Are they from the Sask? They hanging out in the Sask? What do they call it? What's slang?
In the tune.
In the tune.
I like that, actually.
I'm just guessing because I'm from Ontario.
The tune and the wand. That's okay.
I'm from. Oh, believe it or not, they call it the 6 here in Toronto.
Yes.
Huh.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Berg here in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, loving to see the live chat is everybody starting to filter in and find their seats, seeing a lot of names that we've come to love and make part of this show. We appreciate it. Tommy O, Huffman Elite Training, Zook Enigma, Corey Pride, more and more coming in. Appreciate it. Before we get into Dynamite, let's do a few news headlines items. First, let's talk about somebody who is no longer with AEW. That, according to PW Insider, is one Brian Pillman Jr. PW Insider reporting that Pillman Jr.'s contract has expired, and he is no longer with the company. The last time Pillman had a televised AEW match was against Swerve Strickland on February 3rd's Rampage. His last non-televised match for AEW was back in May at the House Rules live event. So Pillman was officially signed in July of 2021, so obviously it seems.
Did he just freeze on us?
He just froze on us.
Oh,
yeah,
did I freeze?
He's back.
Yeah,
he's back.
back.
Yeah.
What'd you last hear?
Something about his last May something.
Oh, yeah. May 13th was his last.
Your internet is still on vacation, apparently.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Last non-televised match was House Rules in May. He signed with AEW in July of 2021, so it seems like a 2-year contract that just has naturally expired. No word on whether, an offer was made for him to stay, or if this was his choice to not, or what the case may be. But Brian Pillman Jr., guys, keep your eyes open to see if he pops up anywhere else. Jimmy, did you ever have a chance? Obviously, you knew his father, Brian Pillman.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a chance to interact with Pillman Jr.?
Not really. Well, when he was very young, he probably wouldn't know me because not only was I a lot younger looking with hair, but at the same time, good kid. As far as him not re-signing, at least right now with AEW, he's been used so sparingly, and that's one of the issues they have right now. They've got such a full roster, and yes, they've added this new show, Collision, and they do have Rampage, and they got all their interweb stuff. Mm-hmm. At the same time, they're not utilizing a lot of the talent they have, and I think some of them are starting to realize maybe there are other opportunities elsewhere because other than them and WWE, you can look at places like MLW, you can look at the NWA, you can look at Impact Wrestling. There are places to go, and maybe he's thinking of utilizing his services elsewhere, which might be better utilized.
Yeah, Issa, have you had any interactions with Pillman Jr. yourself?
I have. I actually met him a couple of times. I got a chance to interview him last year as he was going to be part of the Ric Flair's final match event. He teamed up with Brock Anderson. I got a chance to interview them both. Super nice kid. I think he was underutilized in AEW, and I know a lot of people were big fans of the Varsity Blondes, but I think with his look and the name, it's just you can't help but to think, and I don't do their job, but you can't help but to think, how do you not have anything for this guy in a singles division and put him in a really good storyline? So I'm not shocked. It seems to me like the people that are gonna go away, they kind of disappear from TV a few months ahead of time, so you kind of see it coming. But I wish nothing but the best for him. I think the talent is there. I think he could go far anywhere that he goes.
Yeah, I agree. We've had him here in Pittsburgh at IWC Wrestling several times. A lot of energy, a lot of charisma, and a natural ability. To no surprise, I wonder, because we have seen this before in the wrestling business in WWE and across other companies. Whenever you choose to take your given family name, that is an extra amount of pressure that gets put on you of expectation. So certainly we'll. Yeah, I don't think he's going to go through a name change, but I would be curious to see where he does go next.
But if he changes his name, it's not like you look at him and you don't see what we all see.
No, right. And I think at this point, he's been on national TV at this point with that name. He's not going to change it, but it does bear the question wherever he shows up next. Just
because there's a few of them out there that you can change the name, you can redo the gimmick, but there's a handful of these kids that just look just like their successor, and you're just like, doesn't matter what you do, I'm gonna see a little bit of your dad every time I see you out there.
And to be perfectly honest, the Pillman name is recognizable throughout the wrestling industry, so why not, for lack of a better term, and I hate that, take advantage of it. Use it. Yes, the kid is talented. He's got charisma, like you said, Justin, and he's got the tools. The name will help him get seen, I think. Yeah. That's the big thing.
Kind of, I don't remember if he was in it last year, so chat helped me out, but obviously his dad, in the Hart Foundation, the one iteration of the Hart Foundation with Owen Hart, so having him in the Owen Hart tournament would be fitting. I don't think he was in last year. Again, chat will correct me if I'm forgetting that, but I'm obviously not in it this year because he's now no longer under contract. So keep your eyes open for Brian Pillman Jr. in the wrestling world wherever he may show up. Sticking with AEW, they might need guys like Pillman Jr. They might need even more talent to keep up with potential demand. A report coming from our friends over at Fightful Select saying that Warner Brothers Discovery has proposed expanding AEW's pay-per-view schedule significantly, including the possibility of AEW running one pay-per-view a month, similar to how WWE's schedule of premium live events is currently. Not known if these pay-per-view events would be standalone events or if they would have a streaming deal included exactly, but it has been something that has been part of the ongoing talks of what Warner Brothers Discovery feels is best for their investment with AEW programming. Issa, I don't know. I feel like, sometimes AEW only having, when they started only having like 4 a year was too few because you had a lot of gaps of time and they try to do extra Dynamite specials. But then the flip side of it, I do think WWE has too many at times. Obviously more pay-per-views means more revenue. And they certainly have enough talent to fill the cards out. But where do you stand on the thought of AEW also having one a month?
I think one a month might be too many. I even think WWE is doing a good job at scaling back a little bit because it does feel like we're having at least 4 weeks in between them, so it gives you the right build. My issue with AEW is that I do think that 4, and they have the Forbidden Door now, it seems to be staying, but I do think that 4 is too few, or maybe they're timed weirdly because it feels like we go into like All Out, Double or Nothing. They don't feel as far apart as Full Gear and Revolution. I feel like too many months going between those two. So I will say I will be up for maybe 6, like maybe here one every other month. I think that is the sweet spot. But I'm with them. I think there's a big gap in between some of their AEW pay-per-views that we could use something in between there. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. Just not once a month, not necessary. Especially with Collision, they have so much going on right now. I think 6 is the right spot.
Jimmy, what say you?
No, I like that number 6. You can even bump it up to possibly 8, but that still feels like a little bit too much because there's a lot out there right now, not just between them and WWE, but there are other companies out there having pay-per-views and doing their thing. So, there's a lot of competition for the wrestling dollar. And right now, AEW caters to a specific audience big time, that hardcore, diehard audience. And, you want to grow your audience, and you got to figure a way to do it. And pay-per-views are not the way to grow your audience yet. I think television is the way to go, but they also have to be careful not to do, like you said, Justin, too many super specials on a Wednesday night or a Saturday night and giving it away, so to speak.
Yeah, well, certainly next week's Dynamite, which is a focal point tonight in the build, is Blood and Guts, and so I have to imagine things like that, gimmicks like that, would probably move into pay-per-views if they do commit to having to up their quota. Yeah. So we shall see.
I don't think they did Blood and Guts just because it's a TD Garden. That's such a bigger arena than what they're used to normally booking. They had to do something special for it, I'm assuming. Because I do think that's more of a pay-per-view, caliber match.
Well, and that match takes up like the entire second hour of Dynamite. It's basically half the show. So so we'll see. Yeah, a lot going on in the AEW world. Again, certainly they have enough talent to do it. Or who knows? Now that they're trying to have two equal footing shows between Collision and Dynamite. Maybe they go the route of branded pay-per-views, a Collision, kind of like Raw and SmackDown used to do.
If they do specific lineups, and it seems like they're kind of sort of doing it, but not really. It's because it almost feels like Punk is the only one that's being specifically assigned to Collision right now. And of course, the rumors are going to persist that, they're trying to keep him away from all the members of the Elite and that sort of stuff. But if they do, keep the rosters technically, Collision and Dynamite specific, you can do. Yeah. And then have your main pay-per-views every year be a combination of both.
Yeah. So we will see where it goes. All right. So that is some news items. Plenty more news you can check out on WrestlingInc.com 24/7 around the clock. Hey, a few cheap plugs real quick. Of course, like, share, comment. We always appreciate that. Subscribe. Whatever channel, whatever platform it is that you are acquiring this podcast, video or audio, do all of those things. If you are watching live or on the archive of YouTube, take a notice real quick below the video here in the About, there is a link. It goes to a Google Doc form. The powers to be asking the loyal fans, the loyal viewers of this, to just click on it, and it's a quick survey. Most of it's multiple choice. It's basically them trying to find out more from you guys about what you like from the podcast, what you don't like, what you like more of, who do you like. I think it actually asks, is there any of us that you don't like? Hopefully you like all of us, but whatever the feedback is that you want to give. Obviously I think a lot of Raj no longer the owner and such of Wrestling Inc. There's new powers to be, so they're just trying to get as much information. So it's very critical if you could fill it out. If you are a regular viewer of this, that would be helpful, because obviously if nobody fills it out, then they're going to question, why the hell do we have a podcast? So fill it out, engage. It could be helpful to us and helpful to you, because it can give you more of what you want to see and hear. All right, so that is that. Let's get into Dynamite in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Did it again. 2 for 2. All right, we start off with Chris Jericho, the Canadian Chris Jericho, up against Komander, and of course Komander, the gimmick, all over the gimmick of running and walking the tightrope. Some high spots in this that look good, then some other spots that seem really ill-timed between the two of them. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But ultimately, Jericho is going to get the win via the Lion Tamer. Kind of a fitting finish that he pulls that one out here, because Jimmy, their commentators, talking about how this is like a throwback for Jericho, talking about his days working in CMLL and Mexico, and his days on TBS in the 90s, working Juventud Guerrero, Rey Mysterio Jr., naming all the luchadors in WCW. Jimmy, how did this opening match for Jericho and Komander sit with you?
Yeah, there were good moments in the match. Don't get me wrong, and at times it was fun, especially like you said, because there's throwback to his times there, and also being in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Because everybody knows Jericho's relationship with the Hart family and the dungeon and that sort of stuff, and he spent some time out there as well. But there just seemed to be something that didn't click between these two. Too often. Let's put it that way. It wasn't the entire match, but there were certain spots where it was glaring that there is something a little bit off. And that was the only thing for me. Other than that, but it was okay. It was a smart move to put Jericho out there first on television to get the crowd to react. You know what I mean? Because they know who he is, especially up there in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
There we go. All righty, so your turn to say it.
Yeah, they weren't. I don't think they were in the same page the entire time, but I mean, I'll start with the positives. It's always good to see Jericho get this kind of reaction. And the times that they were on the same page, the match did kind of pick up here or there. It had momentum in a couple of spots, and Jericho getting the win and seeing the crowd reaction. Sometimes I just look at some of these spots and they're impressive, but I just don't think that they add anything to the offense or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish against your opponent. And it's just like, why are we doing this? There was one counter in which Komander did something using the ropes, and he countered Jericho, and he looked really impressive. But at one point, you're just walking the ropes, and it's just like that doesn't help, and it kind of it threw Jericho off. But was it perfect? No. Was it entertaining? Yeah, I was mildly entertained when I looked past the few things that weren't perfect.
Yeah, I agree, Jimmy, with what Jimmy said about Jericho. And then, yeah, Issa, I'm kind of with you on Komander. The first time I saw him on Dynamite, I was really blown away. It was stuff that I just hadn't seen from anybody. I was blown away. But I do think he's starting to rely on the shtick a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Build up for one big spot where you run the top rope and do something. I feel like that was like the transition into half of his offense. And to your point, it's what is it doing? It's not like you're running any faster than what you could run if you're on the mat, because you got to balance yourself. All you're doing is putting risk that you're going to botch the move.
Right.
So yeah, I do think maybe he needs to tame that in, but he is somebody that is interesting to see, because you don't see anybody else doing what he's doing on their show.
Right.
Yeah, there was one spot that he used, and he used it as a counter, and it looked super impressive. But there's at other times that you can see Jericho kind of like trying to figure out, where should I go, what should I do, and those are those few moments where it's not adding anything to either one of them.
Right. So sticking with Jericho, Don Callis comes out and he continues where he left off last week, where he's trying to get Jericho to join the Don Callis family, and they end up even showing a clip from 1995 of Jericho and Callis, at a show and a promo being cut.
He had hair.
Yeah, Callis had hair back in his days just before hitting the WWE. The Bad News Allens in this and at this show that they're at and giving and what have you. So yeah, this is really interesting, and I guess I'll just tie another segment later in the night is Jericho still kind of listening to Callis, hearing Callis's points of the chemistry they had, the friendship they had, the success they had, they would continue to have. And later, Jake Hager approaches Jericho backstage and wants an answer, and Jericho can't quite give him one. Don Callis makes some good points. Hager's like, look, I've been here with you a long time. I deserve an answer. Jericho can't give him one. So Hager takes off his hat.
No!
Takes off that. He likes that hat, but he takes it off and he hands it to Jericho. Issa, I think that is this the official end of the Jericho Appreciation Society?
I hope so, because while I do think it went on for too long, I love seeing this version of Hager here tonight. Before I talk that, I'll go back to this. I thought Dan was genius to bring out this old footage and kind of like try to tug at the heartstrings, even though he's probably the best heel that AEW has right now. MJF is moving in a complete different direction. So it is Dan Callis shows when it comes to the heel part of it. I thought he was doing a great job at kind of tugging at the heartstrings of Jericho. But if this entire few months of Hager doing this stupid thing with the hat build up to this, it freaking worked. Because I tell you, when that man removed the hat, I was like, no! And then I caught myself saying, only in wrestling, somebody taking off a hat would like cause this much commotion. But it worked. And I love that Hager just brought up the real life stuff. Hey, I left that undefeated MMA career to come have your back here. What's going on? What is happening? Like, it really made you care about what's going on. But I do think that Jericho Association Society ran its course. And I think it's time for everybody to go their separate ways. I'm super invested into all of this, especially Don Callis with hair and Jack Hager removing the hat. This is big things happening in AEW.
Jimmy, is this the end of JAS? Do we see Don Callis and Chris Jericho unite?
I could see it happening, but can you imagine having these two guys every week out there on the mic, let alone having matches or Chris having the matches and Don being outside the ring as his accompaniment, so to speak. But oh my goodness, these guys again, they're magic on the mic. They can talk people into the building, and I think it is pretty much the end of the Jericho Appreciation Society, or maybe this is a ploy by Jericho to kind of convince the Blackpool Combat Club to kind of side with him and leave Don Callis by the wayside.
Ooh.
The one thing that I say, and I'm with you, Jimmy, is like I'm seeing this and I'm like, Jericho just doesn't seem like the kind of person that would join anyone. Since he's been in AEW, he's formed his own inner circle, his own association society. Jericho has never been one to join, he's one to lead these movements. So that's when I was like, I don't know that this is going to go in that direction, but I think we're going to get big swerves from this. And later on, we'll get into MJF and Adam Cole, but I think we're going to see some weird swerves happen with the storylines. But I'm invested.
Yeah.
I am too. Yeah, this was entertaining. Don Callis, you're right. With MJF kind of moving in a different direction right now. Don Callis, he's getting that dirty Dom heat. You know, he can't even get a word
he
out.
wishes he was getting that dirty Dom heat. Come on.
Dirty Dom heat.
Yes, with the Canadian exchange rate there.
Right. I love that.
Fair enough. Earlier, Yes Boy had a super chat of $5 going a little mainstream movie question for us. Is anyone doing the Barbie Oppenheimer double feature? I have not seen either.
You're supposed to read that username like Yes Boy, like that.
Oh. Yeah. Well, you just did it. There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Barbie.
To be honest with you, Yes Boy, I don't have any plans at this time.
I'm dying to see Barbie. Don't even try. Look at all the pink. Okay. You should know I'm all in for this movie.
I want to see Oppenheimer, and yeah, I wouldn't normally ever say that I want to see a Barbie movie, but I love Margot Robbie, so.
I collected Barbies when I was little. Like, this is my thing. I can't wait to see it.
Fair enough. I'll be curious to. You'll probably see it before I do. I'll be curious to hear what you think. All right. Hook continues to chase Jungle Boy. Now, I haven't got to talk to the two of you about AEW in a while. I know what happened. I know Jungle Boy turned on Hook, and then I've seen Hook chase him around. Jungle Boy's not a bad guy. He's not a heel. Is he, Jimmy? Is he? Are they screwing with me here?
Yes, they are. But at the same time, he seems to be embracing this new role as a heel. He seems comfortable in it. It's, you know what I mean? It's not like he doesn't feel like a guy playing heel. It almost he looks like he's a natural at it. So far I'm invested, because it surprised me that if one of those two were going to turn, I would have thought Hook, being the son of Taz. You automatically assume that, and you think that Jungle Boy Jack Perry, being the son of Matthew Perry, good guy, he would never do it. Now he's done it, and I'm okay with it because it doesn't feel forced on his end, for me at least, anyways.
Isa, I don't know. Well, to the point, I don't know about turning. See, on the one hand, I would say yes, Hook would be the one out of the two you think would be more fitting. At the same time, Hook is so damn over, and yet they haven't put Hook in a world title match. They haven't. There's so much that hasn't been done with Hook. That's kind of intriguing to me. So I don't know. But Isa, are you buying Jack as a Jungle Boy Jack as a heel?
I wasn't with it when the turn happened at Forbidden Door. I started buying into it when he cut his first promo. Besides, what babyface have you ever seen slide into a car the way that Jungle Boy slid inside that SUV when he was being chased by Hook? Come on. I'm gonna let it cook and see where we go with it. I'm not fully against it. I'm not fully buying it either. So I don't blame you for having your reservations about it, because as soon as I saw the turn, I was like, I don't know if I can buy Jungle Boy as a heel, but I did think he did a good job on his first promo segment.
Yeah, I'll give it some chances. I'll let's see. Let's see if it grows on me. But I guess Jungle Boy is one of those characters. It's like it's hard to ever imagine being anything other than a babyface. But I guess if maybe stranger things will happen, maybe he can make this work and make a believer out of me. I'll save MJF Adam Cole stuff in a second when we get to the match. I will go to our next match though. We have with Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy up against Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara, the semifinals here for the tag team tournament. Prince Nana and Swerve come out and they end up attacking Darby. Ultimately, it's going to lead to Sammy hitting the GTH on Darby. So we're going to have Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia in the finals for this tag team tournament. Issa, thoughts? Are you okay? Was this one of the teams you thought would be in the finals? Sammy and Daniel.
It is, actually. It is. I thought the match was good. I don't know that these teams needed the outside interference. I think these teams had credible competitors enough to get a clean win over the other and be okay with it. I was very intrigued by the handshake between Darby and Sammy at the end, because it does feel like we're going all in with the Sammy as a face, which also adds to the whole is JAS done. But overall, yeah, I don't think that I needed an outside interference for this to have a finish. I thought these are two great teams that were put together, that either one of them could beat the other with some good wrestling. None of that outside stuff needed here, but that's what they did. It was fine.
Yeah, Jimmy, Prince Nana and his group all over the show tonight.
Yeah, they were, and they definitely made their presence felt. Maybe that's another thing that who knows, if Jericho Appreciation Society is to break up, maybe they are the catalyst, or they're the catalyst that keeps them together and turns them, so to speak. Because Sammy is basically, like you said, kind of like the baby face of the group and of the heel group. So who knows? Maybe it's something to go in that direction. At the same time, like Isa said, it was for the most part an entertaining tag team match. I thought it got a little carried away with the rolling crucifix fest that went on there with the pitting. It's almost like taking a jab at one of the things I'm complaining about, that the roll up has become the most devastating finishing maneuver in all of wrestling lately, and it felt like they were throwing it in there just to kind of
maybe they're ribbing you.
No, I don't know if it was.
They're back at the hotel right now watching, because they wanted to see if they could get the reaction out of you.
Yeah.
They just
can we get that damn former sports entertainment ref to really get upset?
I wouldn't put it past him. All right, yeah. So the Sammy element is interesting. The tease of the handshake there at the end, and then so we have Sammy and Daniel Garcia there in the finals, and now we got to find out who the other team's going to be in the finals. That brings us to our next match. But before we get to the match, they show us more of MJF and Adam Cole bonding in the past week, and looks like they're at the hotel bar taking some shots, and MJF decides to take a little break and go visit with 4 ladies that passed on through the bar after Adam Cole, of course, saying he's good with Dr. Britt Baker. And then once MJF is done with that, it's time for a little video games, and these two end up winning the tag team titles virtually via the video game, the new AEW Fight Forever game. It's a nice little cheap plug of the new video game that's out to work that into this. And then it's time for their match. Despite MJF maybe trying to fake illness, the match is going to happen here against Big Bill and Brian Cage. Folks, this match, if you want, what's the one thing to watch? This is the one thing to watch this week, in my opinion. Several things going on. First off, we have minutes go by without even hardly touching, because we're doing push-ups, a battle of push-ups between.
But it was entertaining.
Teams. It was very entertaining. MJF, this entire match, is chasing a body slam. He wants to body slam Big Bill like it's Hogan body slamming Andre, and he tries several times and fails terribly. But then he eventually does finally get his body slam on Big Bill. There were so many moments that went into this. Tag team work to end it with MJF hitting the Heat Seeker, which then transitions into Adam Cole dropping the boom on Brian Cage, and they get the win. So MJF and Adam Cole get the win. So they do the entrance together. They do a post-match celebration promo together. It's going to be them in the finals up against Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara. Jimmy, this is not the first time we have seen in wrestling the oddball couple, the oddball tag team that gets put together. But this feels... I don't remember the last time we had the oddball couple where one of the oddballs was the top heel. You're taking your top heel and putting them in a situation to get cheered by one of your top faces. But I feel okay about it, because I feel like it allows this this freedom that Max can be heel or face different weeks, depending if Adam's with him, and without doing like a traditional turn of a character. It's actually quite versatile.
Yeah, it's very unique. It's very different in that regard, is the way you said it. Yes, we've seen the oddball tag teams before, the odd couple, so to speak. And this is definitely that. And at first it was like, oh, no, don't go down this route. But I'm being entertained by it. They are very entertaining. Guess what, guys? For those of you who don't like the term sports entertainment, this is the epitome of it. And like you said, Justin, for the first how long, nothing really happened in the match. We didn't get any, I have to say it at least once a week, twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splashes in this match, because they didn't need it. They had the crowd. They had them eating out of the palm of their hands. And the whole thing is I sit back and I'm watching it, and it's like, okay, they're working each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they both got something in the works. Who's going to turn on who first, and when is it going to happen? I hope they take their time with it, but at the same time, this is a lot of fun so far.
Issa, to steal from Jimmy, they had a 10-pound bag here, and very cleverly, they worked to get 10 pounds of potatoes in that bag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 10 in 10 for the first time. I think since we've been podcasting, it's just 10 in 10, plain and simple, and it worked. I absolutely love the segment going into the match, because when I look at guys like MJF, and when you know Adam Cole, you think MJF, like, man, I would love to have a drink with that guy. And you see Adam Cole, and his popularity on Twitch is undeniable. You will probably say, I would love to play video games with this guy. So they took the best of what people probably would want to do if they're hanging out with them and put it in there, get the sheep plug for the video game. It was so well done. I love when they got to that part when Cole is like, you never play a multiplayer game, and he's like, you need friends for that. Like, I popped because I knew that's what he was gonna say. It was cool. I kind of want Cole to be the one to turn on MJF. I feel like Cole and Roddy might be working him. I don't know. But I thought the match was very entertaining. I loved the 5 minutes going into it. No wrestling, and I still could not get my eyes out of the screen, out of everything that I was doing. I found myself rooting for MJF to get that body slam on Big Bill. But the best part of this whole thing was MJF just doing the Adam Cole entrance. I pop huge at how he acted and did the whole thing with Adam Cole. I am so in this. And when they first paired it, I think we did that podcast together. I said, oh, they're going to go and pair the enemies with each other, because they did it with MJF and Sammy Guevara in his prior storyline. So I wasn't buying into it. AEW, you get all the credit. This is working. Keep doing it. I love it.
Well, it's working, and here's what'll be interesting. Is that they've started doing this, and you hope at least when you start these kind of storylines especially with your champion, your world champion, you hope that you know what you think your end game is and when it is. But I'll be curious to see. Let's say they started this and said, you know what, the end game is going to be the turn is going to happen, people are going to be invested, and we're going to get Adam Cole and MJF again at Wembley at the end of August. But if this kind of, let's see the ratings and quarter numbers, and obviously people are reacting there. If this continues to build and starts to become a real weapon of for viewership and for positive review, you have to at least consider, well, maybe we do this a little bit longer than we thought, or maybe we have different. And so then I wonder, like, oh wow, like, what will be the audibles they'll call? If they were banking on this being MJF's match at Wembley. Well, then what do? Now you got to find a big tag match for him to have, right? So I'll be really curious to see how this unfolds over this next few weeks here.
Absolutely, and we've seen it before in the other company too, with a certain faction where it seems like you said, they called some audibles along the way when they saw that things were, hey, this is catching on. The audience is responding. We're getting some good feedback. Let's keep going. And that's what they're getting here. They're getting some good feedback, at least from us anyways, some good feedback with that pairing, and it's working right now. No need to rush the turn. We know somewhere down the line it'll likely happen. Of course, we're assuming, and what they say when you assume, but at the same time, don't rush it. Take your time. Do it right. That could be a song. Wow.
Hey.
Yeah, good.
I also can't help but say this too. Again, none of us know what 2024 holds for MJF. Obviously, he's been very vocal about, his contract's up and the bidding war for him. I will say this: if that is legit, if right now, if MJF's deal with AEW still does expire at the start of 2024, and he truly still is there to be courted. It's so interesting that obviously he's shown how great of a heel he can be. This is allowing him within the storyline to show, if you wanted him to be a babyface, how comedic and, dare I say, lovable he can be as a babyface. It's almost like this interesting audition he's getting to have.
No, you're right.
So I don't know.
I'm also finding it very interesting how a lot of the top company champions are involved in storylines that include tag teams or factions, and it's not affecting or putting them down in any way. You're doing it with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns have not defended these championships in WrestleMania, and they are the hottest that they have been. Claudio is the Ring of Honor champion, if I'm not mistaken, and he's been doing the Blackpool Combat Club for months. Now you have MJF teaming up with Adam Cole. It's interesting how they're just allowing the world champions to be involved in different storylines as long as it elevates, what they're doing.
Corey Pride with the super chat saying the MJF devil stuff feels blasphemous. Hope it ends.
Yeah. All right. If you feel that way.
Yeah. Huffman Elite training saying Komander, Vikingo, any other flip floppers get so old quick they barely talk or cut promos. They don't emotionally connect with the audience, and no one really cares if they win or lose. Yeah, when you have too many of them, it's a buffet. So having one at a time is that part of the buffet. But you're not wrong in that respect. That when you start to load up too many of them,
I will say one thing. I will say that I wish on Monday Ricochet would have just done that really cool flippy thing that he did in front of Logan Paul instead of talking. I'm just saying that was a lot cooler than that 10-minute promo that he cut. So every once in a while, I wish they would just flip around and not talk.
No, Jimmy and I talked about that. He could not verbally hold his own to Logan Paul.
No, and when he did that, even Logan Paul was like, "That was cool," and I was like, "If he could have just done that, that would have been a great segment."
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're right there with you. All right, it's time for the women's Owen Hart tournament to continue. We got Ruby Soho coming fresh off of a big win against Dr. Britt Baker, and it's Ruby up against Sky Blue. Saraya and Toni Storm are ejected eventually by the referee, and Ruby is going to get the win, so she's in the finals, and she will take on the winner of Athena versus Willow Nightingale.
Oof, that's going to be good.
Yeah, Issa, you okay with Ruby being in the finals for this tournament?
I am. I you guys know I'm a big Britt Baker fan. I do think that Britt Baker is losing a lot, but I do feel if you're gonna let Ruby finally get that win over Britt Baker, I was hoping that she would go all the way and maybe even win the whole thing. Honestly, I think it's time for the Outcast to really shine. You have Toni Storm as the world champ. It would be nice to see Ruby win this. She's gonna have some stiff competition, though. I'm looking forward to this other match to see what makes it to the end. But this was a fun match. Sky Blue showed up. I thought she looked great. Overall, good women's action. I wish that we're getting a little bit more TV time in AEW, but this was very good.
Jimmy, talk to me about the talk about the psychology here. So the referee ejects Saraya and Toni because he senses that there being a problem. When that happens, I kind of thought, okay, this might really be set up for a Sky Blue upset. And you can say, oh well, Ruby, but no, Ruby won it. So what's the psychology here? Is it to remind people that yes, just because Ruby's a heel, she can still kick ass and get wins, or what do you think here?
Well, it's almost like, despite the fact that she's a heel, she doesn't need, obviously she utilizes the help from her friends, and when her friends are not there, she can still kind of manipulate her way to a win because she used the referee as a screen, kind of, sort of, to get that pinfall against and the win against a Sky Blue. So I think it's to show that the heel can still outsmart the babyface by manipulating the referee, so to speak. I think that's a lot. That's the psychology behind it. Does it always work? I think it did in this case. To be honest with you, I was okay with it because the only thing the timing of things is very important, and I thought maybe the referee did catch the attempted foot sweep as opposed to suspecting it happened. Because if you catch it, you got to call it. That sort of thing. I know they say, well, you know what, give them a little bit of leeway and that sort of thing, just eliminate them and from ringside, which is what he did. But you could have still done that on the assumption that they were trying to get involved. But to your original question, I hope that answered what I said earlier.
Yeah, no, I really, as soon as it happened, I wanted it. As soon as the match finish happened and she won, I immediately jotted down. I wanted to ask you that because I was like, actually, I got ready to text you, and I was like, why the hell am I going to text him? I can just ask him on the podcast. I'm sure that everybody else would like to know. So, yeah, I was just curious what the idea behind that is. Real quick, I would say I'm becoming a bigger fan of Sky Blue the more and more I see her. I can't even quite put my finger on it, but there's something about her that I'm like, all right, I want to see more Sky Blue. So,
I hear you.
Hopefully we do. All right, up next, we get a match that it gets a vignette even earlier in the night to profile one of the competitors. We've seen Swerve Strickland throughout the night. We've seen him, obviously a ton of him on AEW programming over the months. But it's Swerve Strickland up against Nick Wayne, 18 years old. They do a little vignette on him, explaining that he is a third-generation performer, a very close connection to Darby Allin, who Darby was trained by Nick's late father, Buddy. And I thought the video earlier was good because it did get me caught up and invested and intrigued at this 18-year-old they're going to put out here, in this big-time match on Dynamite. It's not like we're putting it on Rampage or something that's taped where you could potentially stitch and staple it if need be. But no, this is live Wednesday night. Swerve Strickland versus Nick Wayne. They've faced each other before, I believe, but not in AEW. But they've so at least the familiarity there for Nick Wayne. But overall, Swerve's going to get the win. Swerve gets the win. But in the process, Nick Wayne, Jimmy, did not look nervous. Did not look like he rushed. Looked like he was fairly composed for the biggest match and platform he's ever had. What do you say with that?
No, that's what surprised me the most is he looked like he belonged. And I get a lot of that was probably, like you said, because he has worked with Swerve before, felt comfortable with Swerve. And it's kind of like that situation where Strickland probably said to him, hey, listen, I know this is a big moment for you. This is your opportunity to shine in front of an audience. And you may not be going over, but we will, like we always say here, you may not be going over, but we'll get you over. And that's what he did. He got the people interested in him because there were a couple of good false finishes there where you thought, hey, this kid almost had him. And, good on him. The only issue I had with this match was the placement. Because, you're building up this whole, debut match for this young man, Nick Wayne. His father trained him and that sort of thing. And the story, the great video package that they showed, like you said earlier in the night. So what are the three most important parts of a 2-hour show? The beginning, the end, and the crossover. Maybe this could have been a perfect time for that crossover moment at the 9 o'clock hour, as opposed to putting it right before the main event because people remember the main event more than they do something like this.
Yeah, Issa, they made it a big deal, but then, as Jimmy said, they also tucked it away tightly. What'd you think of this?
Man, I love this. I was so invested. I know that he did wrestle Swerve, and Swerve had told him he was going to be his first match in Dynamite. There was a little bit of, continuation with their past and their stories. I'm a big fan of this. I mean, I've been preaching that we need to build new stars. We cannot keep wrestling, holding on into the nostalgia pops and these legends coming back. Eventually, we do need this young talent to come and rise, and this is the way to do it. I love that Jimmy said he looked like he belonged because there's no better way to put it. He just comes out there, and I was talking in my stream, like, imagine the pressure on this 18-year-old kid. Like, how must he be feeling right now? If I'm in that situation, I'll be a mess, and I'm a grown-up, And he just comes out there looking so calm, cool, and collected, puts an incredible match, and like Jimmy said, without going over, he put him over. I thought Swerve and him looked like $1,000,000 out there. I love that they added the Darby factor to it. Darby trained him. I know that Darby was the one who showed up in the indie to sign him to AEW when he was only 16. I mean, I love the continuation into all of this, and I love that they gave him the big spotlight. I do think they would have put him in a Rampage. It would have just felt like, let's just see how he does here. You really threw him out there, and he showed up. I'm not the mom, but I'm proud of the kid. I thought this was great. Yeah,
no, it was good. It was really good. I guess if I wanted to critique and nitpick anything, I thought there were, and this is not unique just to this match, especially in AEW, but I thought there were some spots in this match where I'm like, okay, that needs to be it. And yet they tried to keep going.
Oh, and I wish he would have won. I wish he would have won.
I know, but that power bomb spot off the top and oh my god! And not only a power bomb, he hits him with the power bomb off the top rope, and then a kick to the back of the head, and that was a false finish.
Yeah,
right.
You could have made a perfect argument for it. Forget a young 18-year-old making his debut, not kicking out of that. There's very few people on earth that could possibly kick out of that.
Right. No, you saw. I for a minute I was kind of with you. I was like, man, kid loses his TV debut, but then at the same time, I'm kind of like, all right, well, they are trying to they have been reintroducing Swerve to make Swerve a big deal, and it's kind of like, so Nick Wayne loses, but clearly has the audience behind him. It's almost like we're gonna really rally and build up for his first win. Like he's gonna have another match on Dynamite next week or in 2 weeks, and he's gonna come close again. And it's gonna maybe they make it a big deal when he finally gets that win. So I don't know. I'm gonna wait and see with the idea of having him lose his first match.
Okay.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
Killer, yeah, we'll see. Killer of Demons 669 saying Nick effing Wayne. Enough said.
He was great. He was great.
Yeah.
All right, well, now it's time for the main event segment. Rarely on Dynamite is it not a match, but here we go, and it is the reveal for who the fifth man is on each team for Blood and Guts next week in Boston. Don Callis comes out by himself as he promised to do. He's getting ready to make the announcement, but then he's cut off and interrupted by Kenny Omega, who's then attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club. And in that attack, he is blindsided by a returning Pac, and Pac is your fifth member, the Bastard Pac. And then just as they're getting ready to decapitate Kenny Omega's head, he says, look at the screen. And they play a video vignette announcing that Kota Ibushi is announced as the fifth man to join Kenny, Hangman, and the Young Bucks. It is the Golden Elite. So, Issa, again, something unusual for the ending of Dynamite. But your thoughts on the stage that is set for these 10 competitors in Blood and Guts?
I'm mad hyped, LaBar. I'm so excited.
Yeah? Okay.
I'm so happy to see Pac return. I see he's still not eating carbs at all, clearly. I thought he looked great and it was surprising. I've been reading up and people over in my chat, in my channel, everywhere, we've been trying to guess. And I don't think I saw Pac's name come up. And I just remember, his rivalry with Kenny, the bangers that they've been putting in their history made perfect sense when I saw him there, but he wasn't in my list of people I was expecting the Blackpool Combat Club to bring in. And Ibushi, I mean, there's nothing I need to say. The Golden Elite, I don't know that I was as excited about this Blood and Guts because we've been doing Blackpool comeback against the Elite for like a year now. So I was kind of over it. They figure out a way to make you a little bit more excited about next week. I can't wait. I thought this was very well done, and I'm super hyped for this.
Jimmy, are you good with this being what end of the show?
I'm okay with it, except for the fact that here they are, like you said, ready to decapitate Kenny Omega with the chair around his head and Pac up on the top rope. And it's like, look at the screen.
Yeah.
And no, it is a big deal, Kota Ibushi and the whole bit and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, Kota Ibushi, we got to take care of this ahead of time. At least let him escape in some form or fashion other than, hey, we're watching the screen. And that's what the distraction is. You know what I mean? But
when you put it that way, that's a valid point.
You know what I mean? I mean, I get it. We're a suspension of disbelief, so to speak. It is, pro wrestling / sports entertainment. But at the same time, there was an opportunity. At least go for it and have Kenny move or something, anything.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I thought it was weird when I watched it that, they're asking him like any final word. They're trying to make it like any final words before we execute you. And you're right. He's like, look at the screen, which I think it should have just been Pac is up to the top rope, raise his arms like he's getting ready to jump, and then have the lights go out and then just roll the video. But we had the luxury of seeing it and then armchair quarterbacking it. I will
you
mention
could have had the Elite come out because the Elite coming out, they didn't have Ibushi with them, so they could have came out and tried to stop the attack and then kind of shown the screen.
Sure.
If the Elite would have had him with him, then I would see why they would wait to bring them out. But it didn't make a difference; he wasn't there.
Again, armchair quarterbacking. What if any last words? And they put the mic to Kenny, and he's got the chair there, and he says Kota Ibushi, and everybody goes, huh? So now everybody pauses and like, what did he say? Then, have everybody run down and save him or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
we have such great ideas. We could have just
sure.
After they come out of the video, then we do see the Young Bucks and Hangman come out and they clear house.
And then they keep talking.
And cut a little promo. Yeah. So that's the stage is set. Blood and Guts next week in Boston, the TD Garden. Yeah, so we'll see. It's very interesting setup there. I thought it was a good main event. I'm in favor of main event segments. Don't always have to be matches. Sometimes you can accomplish more without having to have the constraints of a match.
And it was like about 5-7 minutes. Like it wasn't a very long talking back and forth segment. There was some action which I liked.
Yeah. Sheldon Jackson had a super chat in there too, going back to Nick Wayne, saying, got to give it up to AEW for keeping continuity with Defy Wrestling between Swerve and Nick, Wayne. Swerve said Nick's first AEW would be against him. And yeah, I think Issa mentioned that earlier. And yeah, I agree, Sheldon.
He's the one who told me that earlier on my chat.
Right.
So thank you, Sheldon.
All right, Sheldon Jackson, get a little producer credit there, helping.
There you go.
Yeah.
Helping out there with Issa. So that was Dynamite tonight from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. The tune. On the build for next week for Blood and Guts, but then also building to Collision at the end of the month with the finals of the tag team tournament. And then, of course, we still have the show that has over 60,000, 70,000 tickets sold in Wembley. We don't have a damn match. We don't even know how the hell. We don't even know if you're not there how to watch it. They haven't even told us that.
Right. I saw somebody tweeting. They were like, "Is this going to be a pay-per-view?" And I was like, "That's a great question. Nobody has told us anything."
Right.
Juice had a great tweet earlier. He was like, "How the hell have they had this many tickets sold and they can't bother to tell us how to watch it if we're not there?"
Right.
It's gonna be a live event. That's why it's selling so many tickets. You have to be there to see it.
Right.
It's the biggest house rule show they'll ever do.
It's the only way to see it unless we put it out on
No cameras allowed. They'll take your phones away. You know that's what they do. If you go to Taker's One Deadman show, you have to turn in your phone. They give you like this lock thing for it. That's why you haven't seen any of it leaked.
I was wondering why no video has surfaced anywhere.
Amazing.
Yeah. They give you like this. They put your phone in this little lock. You carry it, but it's in a lock like thingy, and you can't record anything when he's doing.
Can you imagine?
That's smart though, because he's going around. He's presumably doing the same show in every city, telling the same stories almost.
Depends on how much Jack he drinks. I heard.
Well, but I get it. If one person records that and it gets out on the end, I mean, yeah, you're probably killing ticket sales. Well,
I also think they're recording it for. I would assume they're going to do something with it with Peacock because they have a full camera production there. But I thought it was genius. And when I went, I got the opportunity to go to the first one, so I was like, oh no, maybe it's because it's the first one. They don't want anybody. But no, apparently they're doing it at every show.
Can you imagine if somebody pulled out a phone and you hear gong? Wow.
Do you know what? It makes me think of one time Mick Foley came here to Pittsburgh to do when Mick was doing his stand-up, and I was and for those who don't know, a little backstory: Mick was trained here in this Pittsburgh area by Dominic DiNucci, and Dominic was still alive, and Dominic and a whole bunch of people were, and I was fortunate enough to be part of this dinner. We had dinner with Mick before, like 20 of us, and then we all went to the show, and all of us got like nice front row seating. And they say during Mick's show, they say during Foley's show, don't take any pictures, don't have your phone out, like whatever. They don't want that. Well, I was trying to get because Dominic wanted to like commemorate the night. I was trying, so I went and I took one photo of Mick. I tried to sneak it to make it, and I tried to do it when he was looking this way, so it wouldn't even distract him. Well, he turned. And he goes, no photo. And he goes, Jesus, because I just had dinner with you. You can't follow the rules after dinner. And he called me out. And I was like, I'm trying to do this for your mentor here.
Right.
But I've always thought
LaBar.
there's some concert acts who I know that they have. I mean, there's different bands that like make you like can't have your phone. And I think it's smart, like protect the investment.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So that was Dynamite tonight. And
I thought it was a fun show. I know we got through it quite fast, but it was just, I thought it was entertaining. I don't really have a lot of negatives to say about tonight's Dynamite. Good show. I thought it paced nicely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought they got a lot in, but it didn't feel 20 and 10.
Yeah. Right.
Again, I'm having a little bit of an issue with that picture-in-picture stuff, though. It just, I don't know. I just
never watch. I don't. When it goes to commercial, I don't care if it's picture in picture. I don't watch. I'm going on social media. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going to the fridge. I don't watch.
That's the idea of having commercials, though. That's what you're supposed to do.
Well, the advertisers don't want to hear that, but
well, you know what? No, of course not. No, I mean, but during the commercials, you're hearing, this beer ad. You're hearing this. You're hearing that, and all this in this little square in the corner. There's some action going on. It's like a silent movie. It just doesn't translate.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
And I'm picture in picture prejudice across everything. I don't watch it when WWE does it.
I do the same. I can't do picture in picture. I usually live stream when I'm watching a show, so I'll be talking to the chat or doing whatever. I have to be really into something for me to try to pay attention to the little square.
Yeah. All right. Final goodbyes and cheap plugs. Final thoughts, goodbyes, cheap plugs. Issa, go first.
Like I said, I thought the show paced nicely, and they got me invested into a lot of storylines that I really wasn't into a couple of weeks back. So props to them. You guys can find me NYC Demon Diva all across all the platforms, and even on Threads now. If you guys are on Threads, and go subscribe to my YouTube channel. We're almost at 21,000 subscribers. We do watch-alongs over there right before we go live over here. So you can find me here too.
How's this Threads a deal? I haven't done it yet. What's the deal?
It's like a wish.com version of Twitter, but it's great. It's a lot more. It's not as psycho.
Okay.
It's still just getting started, so it still feels fun. You know how Twitter felt back in the day, LaBar? It still feels that way. They'll come eventually, though. You know how it is.
I'm sure. How's the move going?
It's going. I'm about 70% done.
Very good. Well, congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
Jimmy, final thoughts, goodbyes, cheap plugs.
No, I agree. I thought it was a fun show, well paced, and it had its moments where it made you go, you know what I mean? But what show doesn't? No show is perfect. So, again, I would have liked maybe to have a hint. We have maybe some slight hints of what's going to happen at Wembley eventually, but at least give us a clearer picture of what's going to happen. That's all I'm saying. That being said, again, enjoyed the show. And of course, you can catch me here on Wednesday nights with you two, and Triple J on Monday nights after Raw. The Reffing It Up podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, and RJ, our host. And this week is a throwback episode to one that was done with Earl. Just a recap from back in the day. And you can catch my Reffin' Rants on all my social media platforms from Monday to Wednesday, where, again, they're critiques not to tear down, but in my opinion, help tighten some screws.
Tighten those screws.
Sure you're drinking coffee when you watch those Reffing Rants, please.
This is the first Dynamite I watched live in several weeks, and I thought it was pretty good. I'm intrigued. Again, the MJF Adam Cole stuff, I think some of the best TV they've done. So I'm intrigued by several different stories. So good on them. Monday nights, Wednesday nights, I'm here. Fridays on Sirius XM Radio on Busted Open Spar with LaBar. Also, check out my socials at Just LaBar across Twitter and Instagram. Today I had a fun conversation with Carrie and Cross. He and I had a good conversation about a lot of different topics. And I want to stress, actually, it's a fun interview to watch because he is out of character.
Ooh.
And I even brought this up to him at one point, is that he is not the intense psychopath in interviews. He's a different man. So it is a very interesting out of character interview. I posted a clip today where he explained. I asked him, I said, how did this entrance come up? And he goes into the X's and O's, and I didn't even put the full clip, but I gave you a little taste of the X's and O's of how he came up with the entrance, the working with Triple H, and how they got the entrance down. I got a few other clips we'll release tomorrow. One talking about his very first WWE live event as a kid, what it was, and his excitement. Also got him talking about the character himself, and then the full interview, uninterrupted, will be available Friday. So check that out. That's all, of course, in advance of WWE Payback Premium Live event, going to be here in Pittsburgh, September 2nd. So a lot of exciting stuff going on with that. Hit the follow button, hit the like, hit the share. As I said earlier, fill out the survey that's in the about on the YouTube video. Powers to be would appreciate it. That's going to do it. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the fun things. Be good to each other. We'll be back next Wednesday night, as always, here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Good night, everybody.